So, as casual conversation starter, I admired her earrings, canary diamond studs, graph, about 2 carats each, and she told me her husband had given them to her on a romantic weekend in Paris for Valentine's Day. He's a doll baby, her words. And you were? She didn't ask for my name or anything else about me. We only spoke for a few minutes, and she still managed to drop in the fact she was consulting with the famous designer Dubec over reimagining her master suite. I acted suitably impressed. Her eyes laughed over her spoon. More, I think. You'll be interested to know she's doing all this as a surprise for her husband for their 3rd anniversary. He's currently on a golf trip in Hilton Head. All the better. Booth turned to Sebastian. And the setup for Lake Charles? We have a house from the ones you picked. A good choice, I think. We find a coordination with the port's schedule, then move the family and staff out. And how do you arrange that? Miranda wondered. Maybe we get lucky and work it in with a family vacation. Then it's only the staff to deal with, Booth told her. Or we find a reason everyone has to vacate overnight. Pests work, Sebastian said. Or the gas leak. And Booth nodded. Quick and easy. I think the gas leak, if I can work the timing. If not, a couple rats, a few mice. Time to call the exterminator. Which, he told Miranda, will be one of us. We suggest they leave, all humans and pets, and we'll solve this problem overnight. He looked back at Sebastian. I'm targeting best case scenario, the middle of June. We'll aim for it. It's all about the illusion and the timing. Isn't there also the matter of stealing a big hunk of diamond? This time, Booth patted Miranda's hand. Not yet, but we'll get there. She supposed the preparations the next morning for casing the joint equaled the start of getting there. After an elaborate brunch, she sat in the back courtyard with Mags, while Wiley, after a walk, napped under the table. I'm not going to poke and pry, Mags began, but I want to say you make my boy happy. I hope I do. He's had a lot of sad and mad and bad in his life. He's had some happy too, but nothing happier than you. The words struck her heart, and just held there. That's an amazing thing to hear. When he first told me about you back in college, I could hear that happy, that all the way happy, and I thought, my boy's in love. It cut a piece of his heart out to walk away from you, and he walked because of me. No, Mags. Direct, determined, decisive Miranda reached out to grip Mag's hand hard. No, he walked because of Laporte. I wanted to blame Booth. I did blame him, she admitted. Of course you did, Mags said quietly. He wanted you to. But I know better now. I know there's only one villain here. It's crushed me, I won't deny it. And it changed me, my attitudes, my outlook. But do you believe in fate? Oh, honey, Mags barked out a laugh. Do I? Well, we were both so young, and who knows how we'd have handled all we felt in the long run. But we're older now, smarter now, we've lived more now, and in the past few months, I've gotten to know Booth more than I ever did during that rush of falling. She glanced back towards the house and up to the windows of the room where they'd spent the night. Did he tell you about Celine Warwick? He said Laporte called her and Canary off. He did, but only after Booth threatened him and ran Celine off himself. As she related the story to Mags poured more of Sebastian's sun tea into glasses. He never tells me about that sort of thing, Mags sighed, with the words. I don't think he often tells Sebastian either. I doubt he'd have told me, but I saw it myself, and one of the things I saw was a man who can handle himself. He took her gun and ran her off, threatened Laporte, hell, bullied him, she corrected, out of another $1,000,000. Then he set up the house they'd rented so they'd be identified, so authorities would look for them. Finding them's another thing, but he did all of that so smoothly. He did all of that, and what he's doing now, while teaching full-time and putting on a really impressive high school musical. I think he could do anything he wanted to. Preaching to the choir. You love him. That's not a question, because I see what I see. You'll decide what to do about it. Oh, I've decided. Miranda glanced toward the window again. It just has to wait until this is finished. Sebastian stepped out before Mags could ask. He slapped a hand on his heart. Ah. Hearing his voice, Wiley scrambled up to race over and dance on his hind legs. Sebastian scooped him up, nuzzled. Booth's ready for you. Miranda went in and up the arrow straight staircase to the landing, turned left. The bedroom door stood open, so she walked in, jolted back. The man who stood studying himself in the cheval glass mirror boasted a two-toned pompadour, stone gray topped with snow white. His goatee, stone gray, came to a sharp white point. Under the palest of pale gray suits, with a royal blue waistcoat, he had broad shoulders, broad chest. Rings sparkled on both pinkies. An elaborate lapel pin in the shape of a phoenix glimmered. She didn't see Booth until he spoke. Good. We need to get started on you. You. I would have passed you on the street. You look older and fuller. Your eyes are brown. Colored contacts. He spoke briskly. Work mode, she realized. Strip it down and put on the robe. I need to do your hair and makeup. Thanks, but I've been doing my own since I was 12. Not like this. That's your hair. He pointed to a short, blunt blonde wig with full bangs. Okay. It sort of looks like the one Julia Roberts wore at the beginning of Pretty Woman. I guess it does. She walked back to close the door before she undressed. I take it I don't get the facial hair. Not this time. He took off his suit jacket, laid it on the bed as she put on the robe and sat. Then he turned her chair so her back was to the mirror. Immediately, she tried to turn it back. I want to watch. No, when I'm done, you'll get the full effect. He began to work her hair into a skull cap. This'll keep it out of the way while I do the face. I'm going to build on what you're already wearing. Can you do a beauty mark? I've always wondered how I'd look with one. Then she actually bounced in the chair when he opened a train case. Oh my gosh, look at all those brushes. The palettes. Let me... He slapped her hand away. Mine. I'll share later. I've got a schedule going here. Your face is fuller, too, around the jaw. Mm-hmm. Are you going to make mine fuller? No, he said as he worked. Just stronger makeup, especially the eyes. bold red on the lips. Red lipstick doesn't work on me. It will today. He brushed, he dabbled, he penciled and powdered. He astonished her by applying false eyelashes, and ignored her claim they'd look cheap and easy. He changed her earrings, and he tugged the wig on, studied her with narrowed eyes before he slipped black-framed glasses on her. When she tried to turn and look, he pulled her out of the chair and away from the mirror. Not yet. You need to put this on. He held up the bodysuit, watched her mouth fall open. Is that going to be my ass? You're giving me a big ass, and those are my... She laid a hand protectively across her breasts. I'm going to have a big butt, wide hips, and huge boobs. They're not huge. They're in proportion to the rest. If she ever describes you, she won't say willow slim, won't say lanky, she'll say curvy. How about robust? That works too. You wanted the part, Miranda, he reminded her. This is your wardrobe. She muttered, but tossed the robe aside and let him help her into the bodysuit. It's a little tight, and it's shoving my own girls away up. It's supposed to be tight, and it's supposed to push them up. Here's the rest. She studied the little skirt, the jacket, the silky white tank. That's a really short skirt. Miranda. All right, all right. I don't know if my new ass will fit into this. It did, of course. It all fit, and so did the black stilettos. After trying a scarf in red, black, and gold around her neck, with a knot on the side, he stood back, circled his fingers so she did a turn. Good, very good. Now you can look. She stepped to the mirror, just stared. She'd have passed herself on the street too, she realized. Her eyes looked huge and madly shadowed. Rather than cheap and easy, the lashes came off exotic in contrast to the studious glasses. The red lips looked somehow French, and with a deeper dip in the top lip than she could claim. It doesn't look like me. It doesn't look like a wig. And with this body, I think I'd make a damn good living as an exotic dancer. Am I sleeping with Debec? He muttered an accent of French. You are, but another tool to him, no more than a measuring tape. Okay, do I detect a hint of Parrot in Debec's voice? Still fascinated, she turned this way and that. He was Belgian. She missed Booth's delighted grin. He was, but it still works. Let's hear yours. She'd practiced privately. I am at Monsieur's disposal, and beneath his notice, but I have dreams. Soft, low, a little breathy, with the accent subtle. Better, he thought, than overdone. That'll do it. Can you hold it? She stared, a little fiercely, at her new face in the mirror. I can hold it. When I speak to you in French, respond in French. In English, respond in English. You won't have to say much, just follow my lead. I know, we've covered this. Repetition carves it in. Take off the watch. She couldn't afford it. Try those 3 bangles. You'll carry this bag. It holds your tablet for notes, measuring tape, pencils, pens, a paper notebook, the business card case, his and other tools. Look at me, don't smile. When she did, he snapped a photo. You want to familiarize yourself with the contents. Move things around if you want, as long as you know where you've put things. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm a little nervous, but I think it suits my personality. She sat, opened the bag to go through the contents, saw he'd organized them as she would. She tried out the tablet, attempted some notes in French. While she waited, she got up to check out his makeup case and found it awesome. Here's your wallet, he said when he came back in. It's got your ID, a credit card, some cash, euros, and US. She opened it, stared. I have a French driver's license with a photo that looks like I do now. It's a quick job. It's a just in case. The credit card's only for show. Another just in case. We should go. Don't overplay it. Stay in the background. Looking like this? Did you hear Mags's rundown of her? It's all about her and who's important. She doesn't care about you. You're not important. She'll see a young, blonde French woman with a good bag and cheap shoes, like Clarice Starling. Jesus, no wonder I'm crazy about you. Yeah, like Clarice. But you're tall, you're built, and you only speak when spoken to. Oui, monsieur, she murmured, casting down her heavily lashed eyes. He kissed her hand and led her out. At the bottom of the stairs, Mags fisted her hands on her hips. Nice work, pal. You look damn good as a blonde, sweetie. The red's you, but you look damn good. Now break a leg. I might in these heels. She gripped Mag's hands. Hold good thoughts, will you? It's my debut. I've got you covered. Sebastian's outside. He stood by a black limo in a gray suit, a chauffeur's cap. He rolled his eyes at Miranda and said, Ooh la la. She laughed, slid in. A limo? Bien sûr, Booth. Or, she realized, Debec slid in beside her. I am Debec. How else would I travel? Put on the accent and keep it going. Get inside her and stay there. She took the little compact out of her bag, studied her new face in its mirror, and carved it into her brain. The house was gorgeous. She couldn't deny it. It stood massive and elegant in the heart of Georgetown, with its 3 stories, fried white trim, against the palest of yellows. Its front gardens rejoiced in spring. Not walled or gated, she commented with her soft accent. I expected more security. It's there, the outbuilding to the left. That's the security station, and it will be manned 24/7. Sebastian eased to a stop on the brick driveway in front of a white portico that protected the double front doors. He opened the door for Booth, circled around, and did the same for Miranda. In character, Miranda walked 2 steps behind Booth as he strode up to ring the bell. It opened promptly. The middle-aged woman in a black uniform looked exceptionally fit. Booth imagined the security blended with her housekeeper responsibilities. Dutifully, Miranda produced one of Debec's business cards. Monsieur Debec, she said. He has an appointment with Madame Mountjoy. Please come in. The housekeeper invited them into a grand foyer with soaring ceilings. The floors gleamed under a perfectly faded Aubusson carpet. Antique mirrors were Antique mirrors were interspersed with art on the walls and complemented the furnishings of polished mahogany and quiet colors. The air smelled a little too strongly of roses and gardenias. Please make yourselves comfortable in the parlor. She led the way into a large room with an Adam fireplace, 3 tall windows, more art, more quiet colors. Mrs. Mountjoy will be right with you. May I offer you refreshments? Coffee, strong and black. Booth put a considering frown on his face as he wandered the room, assessing it. Miranda kept her gaze down, nodded. Yes, please, thank you. She stood where she was, hands folded, while the housekeeper left, and Booth continued to circle and study the room. He started to speak in rapid French, shot her an impatient look, gave an equally impatient gesture. Miranda pulled her tablet from the bag and did her best to make notes, while frantically interpreting in her head. Tasteful, cautious, good art, dignified and respectful of the architecture of the house. Beautiful millwork, original plaster walls. As he finished, she heard the sound of heels, likely as high as her own, clicking rapidly. The newish wife, a bombshell blonde dressed in bold red Versace, all but pranced into the room. Her joy sparkled as brightly as the diamonds in her ears, on her wrist, on her fingers. Monsieur de Bec! I came out, monsieur. She extended a hand. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Madame. Booth held her fingers lightly, kissed the back of her hand. My time is limited, as you know. I do. I am absolutely thrilled you'd give some of that time to me. Another ununiformed woman, younger, wheeled in a caddy. I hope you can take a moment to sit, have coffee. So I will. He sat, waited to be served. Miranda took a seat on the edge of a chair, knees pressed together. She remained silent, as if she understood for these purposes she was just another piece of furniture. This house, she has age, Booth began, and continued before Regal could apologize for it. And she wears it well, a great beauty. Oh, thank you. This is her gift, not yours. He said it dismissively while sipping coffee, but it seems she's been well tended and respected. I must see the whole of her before I agree to take your master suite and enhance her. Of course. I'm thrilled to show you the house. I'm so excited you agreed to consider designing the master. I just feel it doesn't reflect me or us, my husband and me. There's too much of this former. There's too much of his former wife in there, if you understand. All who live in a house leave something of themselves behind. Yes. As if in prayer, Regal pressed her palms together. Thank you for understanding. Booth set the coffee aside. Let us begin. He gestured at Miranda. Regal didn't so much as glance at her. She took notes. Occasionally Booth tossed an order in French at her, but otherwise she simply trailed behind them through rooms. A study, a larger parlor, with a grand piano, an actual orangery, where orange, lemon, lime trees thrived, and their blossoms filled the air. She toured a library, a reading room. Why have both? A formal dining room with a table that could have seated 30 people, a family dining area and a morning room with glass wall views of expensive gardens, a pool house, another garage. The kitchen, thoroughly modernized under a decor of classic charm, the staff's rooms, more sitting areas. It went on before they took the stairs down to a home theater with a bar, rows of wide leather seats, and two half baths, storage areas, utility areas, then up again to take the grand staircase to the second floor. Regal chattered the whole time. Booth de Beck said little unless he tossed a comment or order at his faithful assistant. He stopped Regal before she could open the double doors to the master. I will see the next floor before I view the master. This is for the last. There they saw a kind of ballroom with a trio of water-floored chandeliers, a catering kitchen, bigger than the one in Miranda's townhouse, two full baths, two powder rooms, sitting rooms, and a locked door. Not an original door, but one Booth recognized had been fabricated to appear as one. He tapped on it casually and confirmed his assessment of wood veneer over steel. And that? Oh, that leads to the attic. My husband has a kind of man cave up there, you could say. He keeps it locked. Nobody's allowed up there. Perhaps the mad woman in the attic? When she just looked blank, he gave a very French shrug. A man must have his secrets, yes? Now you may show me what you wish to change. She all but bounced in her Louis Vuittons. The master suite consisted of the bedroom itself, with its tall windows, coffered ceiling, fireplace, massive four-poster bed, along with two ensuite baths, two dressing areas, a sitting room. Miranda found the furnishings and decor lovely, if a little too feminine, with the florals and touches of pink. Booth looked at everything, including the custom-made closets. He strode, he paced, he paused, he studied, he touched, all while Regal, finally silent, stood with her hands clasped between her breasts. This is a space well used, he barked in French at Miranda, who dutifully took notes. But this is not you. There is elegance, yes, but no romance, no sexuality. You like good sex, yes? Regal blinked. Well, yes. My husband and I, yes. I think when this room was last enhanced, there was no thought of sex, only style. The style is, tasteful, conservative. This is not what I see for you. I really want more modern, Regal began. More color, and... She broke off hard at Booth's cool stare. Modern? Modern is wrong. He chalked a hand through the air like an axe through wood. It is an abomination in this space, in this house. You have owned and must respect it. You will have romance, sexuality, and here the colors must be soft, a dream, a first kiss. The softest gray, like an embrace in a summer rain, the quiet greens and blues of the sea in the twilight. This bed, this magnificent bed. He sleeps with the other wife in this bed? Yes. Now he flicked a hand. It must go away. Live in another space. You will have your own. That alone, oh, Monsieur de Beck, that alone would make me so happy. I will make you happy. In this house, I will keep her happy. He snapped his fingers at Miranda, demanded in French she measure the drapes. They must go, these drapes. They are too heavy. and the color too bold. Soft, soft, the rug, no! Upholstery must change, here, in all the suite. He looked up at the chandelier, frowned. Here, I think, you can have a whisper of the modern. Pretension, just a touch. I have something in mind. We will see. He paced, he frowned. We will see, he repeated. The mantel is good. This oak. Who painted it white should be shut in the public streets. This we will strip down to its original glory. He went through each space, spouting his vision, leaving Miranda to marvel and measure. Regal actually wept her gratitude and didn't blink at the astronomical price he set for his design work alone. Labor and materials would come as they came. He gave her instructions for writing the first half of his fee and left her weeping happily in the doorway. Miranda didn't speak until they'd driven off the property. It took more than 90 minutes. Yeah, a little. Big house. Pretty fabulous house. The only thing I really envied was the orangery. First time I've seen one, and now it'll be a life goal to have one. The door to the attic, right? Yeah. Steel door, Sebastian. Nice wood veneer. Nice reproduction of the original panel doors throughout. Ah, chains of shift and security at 3. 2 men in, 2 out. Good to know. No interior cameras is surprising. Exterior north, south, east, west leaves a lot of gaps. I saw the security station, one in the kitchen utility, one in the basement. He's got a smart home set up. I can take that down remotely, bypass the alarms and motion detectors. Thinking, imagining, he rubbed at his two-toned goatee. I'll work out how to keep it up for life security. Once I get in, it's just a matter of getting through the door. It's a good lock, but he didn't want to draw attention to it. No deadbolt or digital. I can scan it for an alarm, but it looks to me like he doesn't think anybody can get that far. And he loves the house. He loves the age and architecture. You can feel that walking through it. He turned to Miranda, smiled at her. You did great. I didn't do anything. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. Jump to my orders and otherwise fade into the background. I guess good. She didn't even know I was there, basically. Sure she did. She gave you a couple of thorough look-overs. Wondered if I'd nailed you yet. You envied her orangery. She envied your legs. But you're the hired help. She won't think much of it. If at all, again. She's going to be crushed when Debec doesn't fully enhance that space. No, she won't, because he will, and she's going to love it. You took notes, right? Stunned, Miranda blanched. Yes, I tried, but... Joking. He leaned over to kiss her. I remember what I saw, what I said. It'll be fun. She's paying you, just you, mid 6 figures for the fun. You get what you pay for, he said it cheerfully. Give us about 30 to ditch the wardrobe, Sebastian. Then we'll get down to it. It'll take me that long to get the limo back. Booth reached over to Miranda to open the door when Sebastian parked again. We'll have cocktails in the courtyard and talk this through, Sebastian suggested. That's a plan. Booth took Miranda's hand as they walked to the door. I have to confess something. What's that? I had fun. I really liked doing this, all of this, from playing the silly part to touring that amazing house, to watching you spout off orders and insults and compliments. It should feel wrong. It just doesn't. Inside the door, he took her shoulders, drew her in for a kiss. We are righting wrongs with this one. I'm not going to claim that's what I always do, even mostly do, but that is what this is. I wanted to feel sorry for her. She was so eager, Booth, and she didn't get your reference to Jane Eyre. You could have said she'd need rainbow polka dots, puce velvet drapes, and a brick bread, and she'd have gone with it. Never go with puce for velvet, he said, and made her laugh. So noted. It's just she was so enthralled, and I did feel sorry for her a little, because she shouldn't have to sleep in the same bed her husband slept in with his ex-wife, and she only wants to make that one space hers, just that. There's the bonus. He gave the shoulders. He still held a quick rub. We'll give her that. She'll get that, and we'll take something from her husband, and he shouldn't have. And we'll make Laporte pay. If we do this right, everybody wins. Okay. She let out a breath. Let's do it right. As the school year ran down, Booth budgeted his time. Papers to grade, finals to prepare for. He juggled that with poring over paint and fabric samples and consulting with Sebastian on security and how to circumvent it. He found the perfect bedroom chandelier, all dreamy, and dripping blue glass with rust metal accent, and the bed he wanted, Booth shipping from France. He made 2 more trips to Georgetown, once as a painting constructor, and the next, along with Mags, as upholsterers. Both times Regal smuggled them in during a window when her husband wouldn't be at home. He worked all through May, while his vision in various areas grew clearer and clearer. On the Friday of Memorial Day weekend, he told Miranda he'd be a little late. When he got home, she stood in the kitchen arranging some of his knock-out roses in a vase. "Hi, you look pleased with yourself." "Feeling pretty good. Those look nice." "I think so, too." She stepped back to admire her work. "Holiday weekend. Time for some wine on the patio. Maybe we can take the kayaks out tomorrow. It's supposed to be sunny and hot." "Might be a little busy." He hefted a bag onto the table, opened it, and set a large red stone beside it. Her jolt nearly knocked over the knockouts. "Oh my gosh, is that it? You've already done it? When did you? Oh my gosh, Booth." She punched him before picking it up. "It's got weight." "You didn't tell me. What the hell?" "That's not the goddess. It's a replica I had made. I picked it up tonight. That's why I'm late. It's the exact size, shape, weight, color. Damn good job." "It's a fake?" "Why do you need a fake?" "You're not going to try to pass off a fake on Laporte. You'll have it tested, won't he?" Jesus. "It's just a big, ugly, dull red lump that looks just like the real thing. At least enough to pass a visual, and I need the fake to put in the place of the real thing when I take it tomorrow night." "What?" She swallowed hard. "Tomorrow? But you talked about June, the end of June, when school's finished, when—" "The Mountjoys are traveling to a weekend party at a friend's in Kennebunkport." He glanced at the kitchen clock. "And the landing gear on their private jet should be coming down right about now." I'd go tonight, but tomorrow's better. I need to make sure the replica worked. It does, it will, and this timing works. She didn't panic, wasn't a woman who panicked. She assured herself. She panicked. I don't understand the timing. I don't understand anything. I thought there was more time. You should take more time. Don't need more, and now you have less time to worry. He rubbed his hands up and down her arms. I know what I'm doing. Take a few breaths. Trust me. He turned away and into the butler's pantry, took a bottle of Pinot Grigio from the rack. He thought it would go well with the fish he planned to grill. Let's have that wine on the patio and I'll explain. I don't think I can sit. I really don't. What if... The river tends to calm things down. Laporte doesn't expect me to take the goddess until well into August. I made it clear I couldn't start serious planning until after the school year. No blowing my cover. Regals kept her mouth shut about the Beck, because she knows if her husband finds out, he may put the skids on the remodel. Come on. He took the wine, the glasses, headed out the door. I need the replica, he continued, because Montjoy is bound to spend some time in his treasure room before they leave for Europe. As long as the fake's there, all good. He poured the wine, sat, stretched out his long legs. Next month, end of school year, my annual cookout to celebrate that. A cookout? Madness, she decided. She'd fallen for a madman. With all this going on, you're having a cookout? It's tradition. It's expected. We keep doing what's expected. Meanwhile, the Mountjoys head to Europe, and all the subcontractors Debec hired get to work. He'll make several appearances, and while that's going on, I, as Laporte, call in Russell the patsy. We meet at the house in Lake Charles at night. I hire him to steal the goddess, give him more than enough details to make the job reasonably smooth. But he'll steal the fake. Yeah, or try to. I don't understand. She said after all, picked up her wine. I'm lost. Russell's good enough to get in with what I'll give him, and I'll make sure of it, or Sebastian will. He'll not only find the goddess, but he sure as hell won't leave that house or that room without helping himself to more. And he won't get away due to our setting off the alarms remotely, which will have Mountjoy's security and the cops swarming. You want him, the patsy, to get caught. Key detail. Content? Booth stretched out his legs and admired the river. When they grab him up with whatever he's grabbed, he'll roll on Laporte. What if he doesn't? If he doesn't, they'll easily trace the big chunk of new money in Russell's account back to Laporte. Frustrated, Miranda slapped both hands to her head. But Laporte didn't pay this Russell. You did. Didn't he? Booth smiled and sipped and enjoyed the spring breeze, the flowers of the buzz of bees. Laporte's wired $3 million to an account I set up in his name, with his data. The $500,000 he advanced, Russell will come out of it. So will a few other suspicious transactions. Now she began to see, so picked up her wine again. You're setting him up with his own money. That's brilliant. Thanks, I like it. And more than his own money. But that's the crescendo. I need to marinate that tuna and prep the peppers I'm going to grill. You're not leaving me hanging. I'll tell you the rest. She rose with him. I'm going with you tomorrow. You're going and you're staying with Mags. You're not going on the job. That's not on the table. Because I'd be in the way. I love you, Miranda. That's pure truth. And yeah, you'd be in the way, but I'll tell you the rest. It all seemed impossibly complicated and ridiculously simple at the same time. She examined her conscience countless times over the next 24 hours, and still, when she stood with Booth, Mags, Sebastian, and the little dog in Georgetown, she didn't know exactly what she felt. She considered what her father would think if he knew what she'd become a part of, and didn't know. She only knew she'd passed a point of no return. I love stones, Max commented, as they all studied the fake goddess on the table. Raw, tumbled, faceted, they have a kind of life to them that fascinates me. This one just sits there because it's not a stone. It's a composite. It's a good one. Sebastian hefted it, studied it from all sides. Looks like the pictures. Not many of them to see, but the ones you can. You can't be sure it fools a man who's held it, stroked it, gloated over it. If it doesn't, plans change. We'll have our ears to the ground and know if it's clear before they head to Europe. If we get that far, we keep following the steps until it's done. He rolled his shoulders. I'm going to check my equipment before I change. You'll have a meal first, Sebastian insisted. Keep your energy up. I'll light one, no alcohol. Miranda ate a little, but mostly pretended to. She'd expected to worry. She hadn't expected to feel nearly sick with worry, even as Booth appeared absolutely calm. When he went upstairs with Sebastian, she helped Mags with the dishes. It's okay to worry. It's natural to worry. Are you worried? I always worry some, Mags admitted. I worried when he'd sneak out of the house as a kid. Dana so sick, the bills piling up so high. Then there was money for the mortgage, for the medical bills. I worried he was dealing drugs, or himself. My sister's a sweet boy, but he wasn't. Oh, Mags, you carried so much weight. Mags shook her head. Dana wasn't weight, and neither was Booth. They were, and are, lights in my life. She touched the celestite crystal she wore on a chain in memory of her sister. After I pinned Booth down on what he was doing, I worried. But he kept the roof over his mom's head, food on the table. We couldn't have done it. With the cleaning business alone, it was too much. She closed the dishwasher. I worried about Sebastian, but he's pretty much retired now. His girls are grown and set. He has enough. My business with Dauphne's doing fine, and he helps out there. Keeps him occupied. But you're worried about both of them tonight. Miles gave Miranda's hand a squeeze. Waiting just sucks, doesn't it? We're going to light candles, some good white magic. I don't know if I believe in that kind of magic. Oh, I believe enough for both of us. With the next thought, Mag's smile turned to cold fury. If I didn't, I'd make a goddarn voodoo doll or puppet of Laporte and burn it to ashes. He wouldn't know what hit him. You actually believe you could do that? If I couldn't, I know a few back home who could. But it's not the way, this is the way. So says the Mandalorian. With a wild laugh, Max grabbed Miranda, gave her a nosy kiss. Booth must be circus clown crazy about you. Do you know any circus clowns? Dated one, moody bastard. Max gave the kitchen a last glance. Okay, so we light candles, and we wait until they're back again. When he came down, Miranda realized Booth looked like her image of a cat burglar. Long, lean, lanky in black jeans, a long-sleeved black tee, black high tops. She decided against asking herself what finding that outrageously sexy said about her. You're not going now. It's barely 10. I've got the dark. The house is empty. Nobody around but security. That doesn't change if I wait. He put his hand on her shoulders. It's going to be fine. I'll be back soon. Don't panic, don't panic. Too late. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. How do I feel? Think of it as me getting called into work for a couple of hours. He kissed her, light and casual, before he glanced at Mags. I'll bring your boyfriend back. See that you do. I do the driving, me, so I do the bringing back. Sebastian's kiss was neither light or casual. Then they walked out the door, two men in thievery black, and drove away in a black SUV. Oh gosh, this is really happening. Riding on the panic, Miranda took 2 steps outside, as if she'd run after the car. Mags just curled her fingers around Miranda's arm. Do you play Scrabble? What? Wild-eyed, baffled, Miranda stared. What? We're going to light the candles, then I'm going to show you how we play Scrabble in my family. It requires wine. Sebastian drove by the mansion. Security lights beamed. More lights glowed against the windows of the outbuildings. The carriage lights flanking the entrance doors burned a soft gold. There, Sebastian jutted his chin, the man and the big curly dog. Labradoodle. They head home now. He walks the dog this time every night. Not much foot traffic otherwise, I see. Ah, but there? Booth glanced across and down the street. Somebody's having a party. Might have some walkers when it breaks up. Turn left here. I'll backtrack. I'll signal when I'm ready for pickup. The goddess waits for you. She wants you to take her. Then I hope she's packed and ready. No, no. I mean what I say. Me. I feel this inside my bones. She's been used for greed, for envy, for blood and death. Now, it's for justice, for payment overdue. She's the answer, and I think she's always been the answer, been your answer. She waits for you. Taking a moment, Booth let himself feel. I want a life, Sebastian. All I've ever wanted was a life of my own choosing. Then, go get her. Booth slipped out of the car. A couple stepped out of a restaurant, half a block down and into a waiting cab. He walked on as it passed him, just a man taking a stroll on a pleasant night in spring. He smelled roses from someone's garden, then heliotrope. He heard the thump of bass from the open windows of a car driving by. He thought of nothing, set everything else aside but the next step. And in the shadows between streetlights, in the narrow gap between security cameras, he took that next step. In his head, he saw, as clearly as the map he'd made, the lights, the cameras. He took a wide berth, used the trees, the shrubs, caught the scent of night-blooming jasmine as he crab-walked through another gap. He took a short run, crouched, and paused when he saw the door to the security house open. The man stepped out, and Booth saw the 9mm on his hip as he lit a cigarette, and through the roses and jasmine Booth caught the string of smoke as he exhaled. The man strolled as he smoked, a well-built man with blond hair cut high and tight. Military, but not on patrol, Booth decided. The cameras handled things, just a smoke break, a leg stretch, and a short delay in the schedule. He waited it out. Once or twice the guards strolled by close enough. Booth could have reached out and grabbed his leg. Then he field dressed the smoke, put the butt into an Altoids tin, and made his way back to the guardhouse. Booth gave it another full minute before he took the next run. Now he crouched by that far side of the house under a Japanese maple. Tricky here, he thought. While the guards couldn't see him, except through the cameras, he couldn't see them either. But he could see the way in he'd selected. Side door into the orangery, and took out his remote. 7 seconds, he thought. Interrupt the feed, he hoped, for 7 seconds. Some static, a quick glitch, all he needed. Inside, 10 seconds to reset the alarm. They'd likely programmed it to at least 30 or more. Most did. But in his calculations, anything over 10 could and should alert the guards to a breach. If he went over either time, he had maybe 30 seconds to run. And screw that, he thought. The goddess waited for him. Miranda waited for him. His life, one of his choosing, waited for him. Running wasn't an option this time. He engaged the remote and, counting off the seconds, bolted to the door. The lock wasn't the real problem. Not leaving any signs of forced entry, that was the issue. He finessed the lock, stepped in, restarted his internal clock. He pulled off the cover, attached his digital reader, counting as the numbers flashed on the display. It hit the last of the 6-digit code in 10 flat. So he stood surrounded by heady scent of oranges, lemons, blossoms, eyes closed, orienting himself. It came back to him, rose up inside him, that visceral thrill. It had been nearly a year now. One job the previous summer, just to keep the muscles tuned, then back to school. And then Miranda. Now he embraced it as he moved through the house. He used no light, stayed well away from windows, not only because someone might see movement, but to avoid any chance of setting off a motion detector. The housekeeper interior security had quarters off the kitchen, so he avoided that area. He knew she was up. He'd seen the light. He got close enough only to hear the murmur behind the door. Some laughter. Television, he concluded. One of the late-night shows. All the better. He'd do what he came to do, and she'd report no disturbances. Other live-in staff had separate quarters on the property. He'd seen lights in the staff house, some movement behind the windows. He'd keep a careful eye on departure. He used the main staircase to the 2nd floor, then the 3rd. He walked, as he had with Miranda and the lady of the house, carefully avoiding the 2 treads he'd noted, let out quiet creaks. He walked directly to the locked door. He didn't worry about leaving some subtle signs of lock tampering. In fact, he'd intended to leave more than he ever would, still subtle, but signs any decent cop would find. Russell would leave more, he knew. He got through, shut the door behind him, and waited for any sounds, waited for his eyes to adjust yet again. Darker here, he thought, and more creaks in the damn stairs. Still, The odds of house security hearing them down on the main floor and through a steel door hit nil. At the top of the steps, he made out two windows, both with blackout shades drawn. He pulled out his penlight, scanned the space, large, many shapes, angled ceilings, and the camera. Well, crap. He considered it while he stood out of range and once again calculated the odds. No way Mountjoy would trust paid employees with a view of his private collection. This was for him. He could look in on it while he was away, or record himself in the midst of his treasures. Either way, he had to disable it long enough to do what he came to do. He used the remote again, let out a long breath when the camera light went from green to red. With no time to waste, he took a chance, hit the light switch, and flooded the room. He had seen this sort of thing before, but admitted Alan C. Mountjoy had created a very sumptuous space for himself. Antique furniture, artfully arranged, a small but well-stocked bar. Art, of course. He counted 8 exquisite paintings, twice that in sculptures, the glint of jewelry in glass displays, and an impressive, very impressive collection of gems, raw and faceted. And the centerpiece stood on a gold column with the top shaped like an open palm to hold her. She was gorgeous, raw, elemental, pure, the only one of her kind. She took his breath away. Everything else in the room faded beside her. The Degas, the Rudin, the ice-white diamonds, the blood-red rubies faded to nothing in comparison. When he touched her, when he lifted her, he would have sworn he heard her breathing. He set the replica in her place, perfect fit in that golden palm. He heard his own heart knocking as he reverently placed her in the velvet bag, and the bag in his leather satchel. Backing away, he turned off the lights, restarted the camera. "I think you were waiting," he murmured as he went down the stairs, "and I hope I'm taking you where you want to go." It occurred to him, if that wasn't the case, legend claimed she let him know in a fatal sort of way. When he reached the second floor, he saw the lights on in the main, and sincerely hoped that fatal sort of way hadn't arrived.